Okay, the next item, not nearly as dramatic, a report on the implementation of the grant we had for the personalized learning in math and foreign language. No hugs for you, Mr. Hay, sorry. Not yet.
No. No tears in front of video cameras. That's the rule. All right. We want to talk to you about one more really exciting thing, or several really exciting things wrapped into one project here that's happening. And so you have in front of you a quick report that kind of just runs through just the facts. And this is the Department of Defense Education Activity Grant that we received on September 19th. So right after the school year had begun. And this grant is focused on two arms. One is the math focus, and how do we individualize math and help accelerate the math growth so we can bring kids up to where we want them to be. And the other end is how do we expand language offerings to get at strategic languages. And those are, I'm very happy to say, up and running at the high school and in their beginning stages at the middle school, and will be fully implemented there as well next year. And so you have some of the things. I'm going to turn it over shortly to Mr. Bartz, who's going to tell you what's most important, and that is how the kids are doing in the classes, and some pretty exciting things there. But I wanted to point out near the end of this page, and we'll be happy to take any questions you have too, but near the end, April 1st, 2014, very exciting news that we got that day that Toma School District was approved to host a guest teacher for an entire school year from Egypt to come here to teach Arabic at the high school and at the middle school, to work with Herr Bartz and the world language teams to provide an opportunity that I think is really unparalleled in the entire state and fits hand in glove with the work to expand those offerings through Rosetta Stone, fits wonderfully with the work Herr Bartz is doing with the Global Education Achievement Certificate. Just really, it's exciting. So, Herr Bartz, it's all yours.
Good evening. I'm going to touch on a few things all together. The first thing's with the Rosetta Stone, to give you an update on what we've labeled independent languages at this point at the high school. It is accredited class where the students are given the opportunity to choose from 3 languages. They can choose from Arabic, Russian, or Chinese. We had 8 sign up initially, and 3 of those chose Chinese, 3 of those chose Arabic, and 2 chose Russian. We also have added a couple for very special interests, where we have one student who transferred in who had been doing French. So we continued him under the Rosetta Stone in this independent languages in French. And we had another student who had a very, very specific desire and need to learn Italian. So we've included her in this program then, also doing Italian. At the middle school, they had 6 students sign up. 4 of those chose Chinese. 1 of them chose Arabic, and 1 Russian. To give you an update, at least at the high school, at this point, I looked this morning, everybody is above 55% completed with the first semester. I'm hoping to get that very quickly to 60%. I think it's probably right where we would want them to be. We're pretty much close to 60% the way through the semester. Those are the lower ones. The highest, we have 1 student in Russian who has completed the first semester and is 18% the way through the second semester in Rosetta Stone. We have 1 student who is at 98% finished with Chinese first semester. We have a couple of students who are in the mid to low 70s in Chinese. And then we have everybody else in 60 to 55%. At the high school level, the one thing that I've seen is the Arabic is by far been the most challenging. So it's actually going to be very beneficial to us for this this teacher from Egypt with the Arabic and the blended learning for next year. Those are the students who are at the 55-60%, and it's not because of effort. It's truly because of the difficulty of language between the Arabic and the Chinese and or Russian. So they're doing very, very well. I didn't look at...
To reiterate that point, sorry
Go ahead.
to jump in, but those students began at the end of January. So I know you're hearing 9 students and 6 students, but that's students who agreed to have a mid-year switch from what they were currently in their course plan to jump into this, sort of diving into the deep end with Herr Bart's.
And to meet all the...
knowing what they were getting into, and they're just doing phenomenal.
Yeah, and they met all the initial metrics. These 15 initial students are all students of military families. So we had a list of maybe 50 students that we initially targeted. And of those students, we got 9 at the high school then to sign up, who met all the metrics, willing to either drop a class or drop a study hall, and then come into this something very brand new. Very short notice, we set up that language lab. We have a language lab at the high school. It's what would be the old ALEC room, right across from Mary Neve. We have 10 laptops in there with headsets. The technology team at the district level, so Mr. Potter and his staff did a really good job, an amazing job on short notice, turning that from a storage facility into a usable language lab. Next year, we're looking forward to continuing this. We're going to expand our language lab. It's going to go upstairs, second floor. I think it's now public knowledge.
Yes.
And we'll have station for 30 students. Right now, we have 12 signed up for next year for the independent languages. And that's going to be, so we're going to have the independent languages 1 hour. And then all of the other world language teachers will have prepper duty at that time to free up that entire language lab for digital learning, to support the German and the Spanish and the Ho Chunk programs for the rest of the day, so that we'll all be able to utilize these monies and this facility.
That's another point to put an exclamation point on. The design and the rollout of this, Mike has been very thoughtful in working with the administrative team at the district level to leverage this. And that's, working with Mr. Gorder on an appropriate location that can be dedicated to this, Mr. Potter on all of the technology needs, but to leverage it so that yes, we're providing 3 new languages that meet strategic needs, strategic interests of the United States of America, and we've got some phenomenal opportunities, but to use those resources that have come to us so that we can impact the greatest number possible, meaning all of our students enrolled in German, all of our students enrolled in Spanish, so that everybody who's studying and Ho-Chunk, every student studying any world language at the high school, middle school, has access to this technology that allows you to make the world small.
Yeah, it's going to. We're hoping for it to be the most technologically advanced language lab in the state at the high school level. There will be a few at the university levels that will probably be better, but they also have huge grants and whatnot that they can spend $250,000 and upwards on. But that's my goal, is to make it that good, and then that everybody can use it in the language department. So we're really excited, especially then that Mr. Hayes said about this teacher of Arabic from Egypt. We've been doing a lot of training recently for that. We've had a couple modules we had to do. Ms. Bukta was in on that yesterday with Mr. Hay and myself. We will certainly be bringing that person to you on more than one occasion next year, hopefully for you to meet them and for you to welcome them to the community and to the school district will be very important. I get the pleasure of going and greeting them initially as a district from as a representative of the district, and I'll be flying to Washington, D.C. To pick them up and do a bit of training as their mentor, and then I will bring them back to the community.
Which is part of the grant.
Which is actually part of the, is not even our grant. It's part of the grant from the State Department.
Which we will.
Correct, it's part of that grant.
Second grant.
Yeah.
No district funds.
There's no district funds whatsoever there. Do you want me to talk about the other conference? Or?
I can touch on that.
Go ahead. But, yeah, but for the Rosetta Stone, we're up, we're going. We've met the metrics for this year. We will absolutely meet them for next year. We're excited to continue it. If any of you are available or want, let me know. We just went through our second round of what are called live studio sessions. Today I had 2 students, high school students, speaking Chinese for a half hour with a live native speaker from somewhere else in the world, having a conversation in Chinese with them. Yesterday we did it with Arabic. And if that's something you'd want to see, let me know. I could certainly set that up and invite you in to see that. Have the kids do it. That's part of what we can do.
Can I just ask you a question?
Yep.
Of the students that you have enrolled right now,
Yep.
Can they move for? Are they in with the students for next year? Can they go further with it?
So the Rosetta Stone, Chinese and Russian have 2.5 years of curriculum, and Arabic has 1.5 years of curriculum. So anybody who starts it, we will certainly allow them continue through that curriculum. And if and when they get through that curriculum and they want to continue, I think we can be creative and see if we can't find another venue for them. But yeah, they can absolutely stay with it. So I have, of the ones I have right now, a lot of them are seniors who will be graduating. But I have 2 of them for certain, and I'm going to try and talk at least 1 or 2 more of them for next year to continue with it.
And those are in increments of semesters?
Each one's based, the Rosetta Stone curriculum is based per semester. So it actually, so the Russian and the Chinese have 5 semesters based off a semester. And the Arabic then has 3. Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
I'm very glad that you have someone from Egypt coming to speak. My daughter's been studying Arabic since freshman year in Madison, and it's a tough language, and so the more you can have actually someone speaking to you, it really helps a lot. She was concerned that it was just Rosetta Stone and that the students may get frustrated because it is a challenging language to learn, but once they get going, I think that will be helpful to have the teacher there.
At this point, one of my biggest roles as a facilitator is more of a motivator, because I think you're absolutely right that Rosetta Stone by itself it can be challenging and frustrating at times, so I need to help motivate and encourage the students to continue. But yeah, that with the guest teacher like that and the blended instruction, it's going to make a great difference in their proficiency levels.
I'm sure Erica would be willing to come into a class.
Yeah. With this language lab especially, and the capabilities that it's going to have, if we could have Erica with some Skype capabilities and then working with the class that way is something that I recently thought of that I think would be an amazing.
Like I said, it's just having that opportunity to, and with any of the languages.
Yeah.
And it's good that you have Skype for the other languages.
Correct.
To be able
And
to practice that.
Correct. And just for her to come in and speak to these kids and show these kids the viability of doing this after high school, I think is going to be an invaluable resource for us that I really intend to use next year.
She's going to Jordan for
Correct.
8 weeks this summer, so she'll be able to share more.
Exactly. And we were going to try and bring her in at a couple different levels, language-wise and culture-wise. Good.
Thank you.
One last point, if we step back, sort of back to the big grant that has the 2 arms, and so the languages and the math. On March 21st, we had a site visit all day from our third-party evaluator, and so one of the requirements by the Department of Defense with the grant is that you have somebody who doesn't work for the district or for the DOD that comes in literally as that third party and says, what did you tell them you were going to do and what are you actually doing, and is it congruent or not? Where are your gaps? And so we have a full written report from that evaluator, spent some time at the high school and the middle school, met with the key people involved, observed students in action, and happy to say that we're on target with both arms of our project. We ticked off all the boxes. We did get some valuable feedback from her too. And our third-party evaluator has experience in technology, individualized instruction, charter schools, worked for DPI for a while running the charter school initiative, so really kind of has a broad view of things. But some of those, I just listed a few key bullet points here, was create more benchmarks and checkpoints for students in individualized math. And the idea there was while our metrics are exactly where we want them to be, students are performing at the level that we want them to. One of the best practices is if we can create some smaller term benchmarks so that we can help make sure that kids are on track, and it's not we help avoid procrastination, I guess is what I would say, rather than having kids wait till the end of the term to say, oh, I still need to make adequate progress, that we have better checkpoints at the end of each week, at the end of every other week, to say, did you complete an appropriate number of lessons, or are you making appropriate progress? To seek formal feedback from students and staff via some surveys, to look at professional development in blended teaching models, and that would be for both the math side and the foreign language side, so that we're kind of moving into it, but to get some formal training for our staff in it. And then the last one is to send the lead teacher on the language side to the Asia Society Conference, which is something that I had never heard of, Herr Bartz had never heard of, but we looked up, got some information, and it's the premier conference for language education really in the nation, and some would say in the world. And the Asia Society specifically is looking at partnerships between Chinese cultures and Asian cultures and what's happening here. So we were able to utilize some of the training dollars in the grant to register Herr Bartz, and he's ready to go to that. He also received an award from DPI to help support that travel. So again, that's 100% no cost to the district, and it's going to be 150% very valuable to the district. Then you see there's a list of things that will be happening this summer. Busy work, busy time as always for Mr. Gorder and Mr. Stutzman. Going to be overhauling classrooms at the high school and the middle school to get the language lab set up and ready to roll, getting the math lab set up and ready to roll at the middle school. Again, Mr. Potter's team is going to purchase 90 more computers between the high school and the middle school that will be deployed to make these things fully functional next year.
And I'd just like to compliment Herr Bartz, because he's really taken the lead with this and made a lot of things happen at the high school. And thank you, Mike, because I know it's a lot of additional work, and it's paying off, though. It's really going to pay dividends for our kids.
I second that. Thank you very much.
Thank you.